Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday Brief, your lunchtime companion. My name is Jennifer Jane Asante. In the headlines this afternoon, the decision by the Trade and Industry Ministry to ban the export of scrap metal has garnered mixed reaction from scrap dealers. And the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission assures the University Teachers Association of Ghana that they will be paid their full premiums in May if all goes well after today's meeting. Also, the Attorney General's Department has freed 3 officials of the Electoral Commission who tried to get some unsigned pink sheets validated in Savlugu in the northern region. Why don't you stay with us for these plus wellness and briefs? The Attorney General's Department has freed 3 officials of the Electoral Commission who tried to get some unsigned pink sheets validated in Savlugu in the northern region. The Deputy Northern Regional Director of the EC, Godfrey Oakley, the Savlugu Nanton District Electoral Officer, Akumand Benjamin Akanda, and Salamatu Osman, a purported National Service personnel, were arrested by angry supporters of the opposition New Patriotic Party and handed over to the police in their bid to authenticate some pink sheets on February 17, 2013. The 3 were immediately taken to the regional police headquarters in Tamale, where their statements were taken and they were later released on self-recognizance bail. The police indicated that this was to enable them prepare a docket of the case formally lodged by the MPP and to seek the advice of the Attorney General. However, the AG's department informed the police last week that the matter was not worth prosecuting. According to the Northern Regional Crime Officer, Superintendent Alhaji Mahama Ahin, they can do nothing in this case other than to respect the legal prowess of the AG. The policeman told the Daily Guide newspaper that no cogent evidence could be established against the accused persons, and therefore the prosecution might not be able to establish that a crime was indeed committed. Based on this, he said, the police were directed to free the 3 EC officials as the case, when put before court, could easily be thrown out. But the Northern Regional Scribe of the MPP, Dr. Clifford Brymer, says he's disappointed in the AG, accusing him of bias. Clifford Brymer says the matter was worth prosecuting, considering that the suspects were tampering with evidence in a case pending before the Supreme Court. Now, the Ghana Federation of the Disabled says critical issues affecting persons with disability are not well articulated on the floor of Parliament to facilitate the formulation of appropriate policies. The Federation is therefore taking steps to get Parliament to form an inter-party parliamentary caucus on disability to facilitate discussions on disability issues. We've been joined on the line by the National Advocacy Officer of the Federation of the Disabled, Isaac Tugun. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So when you say critical issues affecting disabled are not well articulated in Parliament, what exactly do you mean?
We mean that in Parliament, persons with disability, we will say we have no representation or voice. When you look at parliamentarian, honorable members calling on questioning ministers, sector ministers, what have they done about construction of that road? What have they done about the provision of electricity or water? We have not heard any member of parliament questioning a sector minister. What have we done to make that school, the Ministry of Education, for example, what have you done to make schools in my area accessible to persons with disabilities? The health minister have not been questioning what he has done to make services available and accessible to persons with disabilities. So we think that some of these critical issues that are related to persons with disability or affecting them are not being addressed. So our intention is to kind of get some allies, all-party, pro-disability, all-party parliamentary caucus, so that once, unlike other countries like Kenya, Uganda, where you have representation of disability, persons with disability in parliament, we don't have it here. This caucus should be able to raise issue, question sector minister or ensure that all projects and programs that are being approved by Parliament have the disability component in it. And we will be outside providing information anytime necessary. And we will let them know what are the issues affecting us, so that when any issue comes on the ground or floor of Parliament, they will speak on our behalf. It is also important that when they find themselves on other platforms and they are talking about issues, they should be able to talk about issues, because in their various constituency, you have person with disability there. That was a spirit behind the formation of the pro-disability all-party parliamentary caucus.
Now, what do you expect to be done in this regard by policymakers?
Policymakers?
Yes, parliamentarians.
Yeah. What we expect them to do, as I said earlier on, we expect them to be the voice of disability in Parliament, so that even if a budget is brought, for example, if you look at the Person with Disability, the National Council of Persons with Disability Act, Council, since its inauguration, the council has not been a resource, it has not been staffed, so it was not able to perform its mandatory duty. So now, can they question? This parliamentary caucus should be able to question, looking at the budget allocation to the ministry under which the council exists, to find out what is the share, how much money is being given the council to run on, to operate on disability issues. These are some of the issues we expect the council. And we also, the parliamentary caucus, we also expect the caucus to start talking about a way of getting sectorial representation of persons with disability in Parliament. In other countries like Uganda and Kenya, it is done. So that kind of affirmative action to get the representation of Parliament, persons with disability, should start. The discussion or the conversation should start in Parliament there.
All right. Are there any particular parliamentarians that you have already singled out to be part of this caucus?
Yeah, we have. I can give some names.
All right, please go ahead.
We have already met Honorable Adjoa Sapo, Honorable Frida Perente, Honorable Magistrate John Magistrate, Honorable Alasa Mumuni. We've also met, I think these were the 4 people we met.
All right.
Yeah.
Was there particular...
That is the nucleus of it. And we are going to rope in Adam MP. We also have the Brimstars MP is also part of it.
All right. Was there particular criteria used in selecting these people? Was there particular criteria used in selecting these people?
We look at, for example, what the criteria was trying to find out what kind of passion or to what extent have they been talking or demonstrating their interest in disability issues. That was the criteria that we used. Okay. Now, forming this caucus may take some time. What steps are you taking in the interim to reverse this trend? I didn't get the last question. You said it's late or what? I was asking what steps you're taking in the interim to make sure that disability issues are taken into consideration on the floor of Parliament. Yeah, as I said, we've already formed the nucleus of it, and we are going to get more parliamentarians to join. But as soon as Parliament resumes, we'll be meeting Parliament again, this caucus again, and we are going to put the issue that we want to be raised on the floor of Parliament before them, so that actually we are in the domain and we know exactly what we want to be done. So we should be able to provide them with the necessary information so that they will be able to tackle this issue. For example, during the formation of the caucus, one thing that came to light from the conversation was that our recent meeting with the president and the sector minister for gender, women and social protection, they promised that they will increase the District Assembly Common Fund percentage allocation to persons with disability from 2% to 2.5%. Now, during this discussion, the question that came out was that Parliament has already approved the 2013 budget. Now, this increase, how will it reflect in the 2013 budget? So that gave us some kind of awakening to know that we need to be proactive. Such discussion I told us that we should only go ahead before we are overtaken by events. So all other issues that will be coming out, we need to discuss them and go move ahead to present our issue before they get to Parliament.
All right. Well, thank you very much for speaking with us, Isaac. That was Isaac Tugun, the National Advocacy Officer of the Ghana Federation for the Disabled. Moving on to other stories, students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, are unhappy with the withdrawal of services by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. The students say the UTAG strike will negatively affect academic work if government does not mediate as soon as possible. This is a report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
The University Teachers Association of Ghana UTAG strike began today across the country following the association's demand for the immediate payment of all salary arrears owed members since 2012. At the KNUST in Kumasi, students were seen loitering because lecturers would not teach. UTAG President for KNUST, Professor Yao Edubu-424, told Joy News the strike will continue unabated until their grievances are resolved by the government.
The modality that was changed was the fact that there is a premium factor attached to our salary, which has to be multiplied by the current or the basic salary of the applicable year. For 2010, 2011, they respected that modality. But when it came to 2012, they didn't apply the factor to the 2012 basic. We want to get the money paid to us immediately and in full. If it will take 1 day to get this done, the strike will end 1 day. It will last as long as the problem is not solved.
But students grumbled most of their major topics are yet to be tackled, and as such, the strike will bring them excess baggage. They are appealing for government intervention.
Exam is just a few weeks away, and now the lecturers are on strike. Already, even if we were to go for lectures throughout the rest of the period, we might not be able to cover as much. But now that they are on strike, when they come back, most of them will try to finish, so they are going to put a lot of pressure on us actually.
The strike has come at a very unfortunate time because after Easter we have a lot of lectures to cover, and it's getting so close to exams. And other activities like the SRC voting, department votings have slowed down academics a bit. And so this strike is going to affect us very dearly if by the end of the week, at most, by the end of the week, if something is not done about it.
We're just hoping that the strike comes to an end very soon to continue with our normal lectures. I want to make an appeal to the government to see to the kind of situation, because this is the lives of the future. This is the future that's at stake here. So if they can do their best to face the arrears and everything.
Mohammed Nuruddin's report for Joy News.
Meanwhile, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, FWSC, have assured the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, that they will be paid their full premiums in May if all goes well after today's meeting. The commission is scheduled to meet later this morning, teachers in the country and the public universities. The commission says that all outstanding payments will be made next month should the teachers accept their proposal today after their scheduled meeting. The head of the Public Affairs Department at the Commission, El Ankra, told Joy News the Commission will look at the teachers' concerns based on the payment of arrears on the 2012 market premium. He said, quote, if they turn up and accept the proposal we have for them, which all other groups with benefits from the interim market premium arrangement have accepted, then definitely everything will be wrapped up, unquote. That meeting is currently underway at the Flagstaff House. My colleague Adelaide Arthur is there. We will be bringing you the details of it as and when we get them. Now, during the week-long strike by NAT and NAGRAT, some teachers promised that they would make up for the lost time immediately government and stakeholders addressed their needs. My colleague Abigail Adolfo Entry went out and she assessed the situation and joins us now live. Hello, Abigail.
Hello.
Abigail, what have you found out so far?
Hello, Jennifer. Can you come again with the question?
Abigail, I was wondering what you had found out so far.
Yes, I have visited about 3 schools, and so far the teachers are really trying hard to make up for the lost time, especially during the strike. Most of the schools are in rejection, and some of them actually are starting exams tomorrow, and it's really tough for them because the teachers I spoke to have not covered everything in the syllabus for the term, and so it's really straining them up, but I'm hoping to finish today. So basically they are just rounding up with lessons for today so that tomorrow exams can commence. Unfortunately, questions have already been set and printed out, so there's nothing they can do about the questions but to really work hard and as it were, put some extra time or extra classes to make up for the losses. Basically, that is what is happening in some basic schools that I've visited.
All right. Have the extra classes already started, or do they have only today to do that?
For the schools that would be starting exams tomorrow, they have only today to do that. So after school, there will be some extra classes to make up for the losses. However, some teachers have also finished. They contend they've finished with the syllabus and are already doing the assessment. So they are confident that the students can write the exams. I spoke to some students as well, and though they know that the teachers have not finished teaching them entirely what they are supposed to be taught, they have, in their own way, studied ahead of time and are ready to write the exams from tomorrow.
So the pupils are confident that they can take the examinations despite the strike that delayed their lessons?
Exactly. Some are confident that they can write tomorrow. For others, they have the fear that they might meet questions that they cannot answer, but they would try to study and consult with their teachers to help them out because that's the situation that they've been confronted with.
All right. Thank you very much, Abigail, and we wish those pupils the best of luck. It looks like they may need it. Now, whilst there may not have been any comprehensive research done on what it costs the country each time workers go on strike, Labour economist Dr. William Boateng believes that it is enormous. According to him, depending on the frequency and the number of persons involved, the country could lose a lot during such work stoppages.
Dr. William Boateng explains both the worker and employer pay a price during strikes. Whilst the worker will have a lot more work to do once the strike is over, the country and other employers suffer productivity losses. For the nation, he says this impacts on GDP and foreign investments.
Ghana loses a lot when we have strike. But then it also depends on one or two things. One, the frequency of the strike. How often the strike occurs is very important. And then two, the people who are involved in the strike. In other words, the number of people in the strike. If you talk about teachers going on strike, we are talking about over 200,000 workers going on strike. And the cost is very, very huge. You can also talk about doctors who go on strike. It may not be as much as the teachers in terms of numbers, but the kind of product that they produce. And here, the main product is what? Health service. We know the cost. People die. And if you ask me, I can say that the cost is quite enormous. And even apart from all this, the country's GDP is also going to suffer. It also has effect when you talk about foreign direct investment. Because if the labor front is not peaceful, if somebody is bringing his money to invest, he is going to work with people, he's going to employ people and work with. And he will not feel comfortable bringing his money because the industrial relation front is not peaceful as as the investor wants. And it can divert resources from Ghana to other countries. So it's hard time we try to resolve issues amicably. We don't have to allow it to get to this point.
He makes reference to the stalemate between employers and workers at the negotiation table and the misunderstanding over wages and placement on the single spine salary structure, indicating that though the single spine policy is not bad, its implementation has become problematic as public workers have been led to believe the policy will increase their incomes.
We, the workers, and here I am a worker, so I have to also add myself to it, did not understand the way the single spine is very, very well. I think we didn't understand it well. And also, the politicians did not also allow the technical people to also push the pay policy. Because you hear people talk on radio, if from the government side, they will say the single spine has brought an increase in salary, everybody is happy, and so on and so forth. And before even the implementation, we heard people talk about the fact that the single spine come on stream and everybody will smile. The single spine was not supposed to come for everybody to smile. Perhaps some people were paid in the old system and they were overpaid. Some people were underpaid, perhaps in the old system. And therefore, the single spine is supposed to bridge the gap and remove all these distortions. So it did not mean that everybody was going to benefit, but we made everybody aware that as soon as a single spine comes on stream, everybody will be happy.
Dr. Boateng says institutions such as the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission should be strengthened and allowed to perform their roles. According to him, intermittent interventions by the executive suggest the situation has gotten out of hand, indicting the institutions tasked with a responsibility in the process.
Now let's move away from that, but onto something else that also affects the nation greatly: electricity. Did you happen to sleep in darkness yesterday, like my producer did? Or are you operating your business with a generator set at an extra cost? Well, the Electricity Company of Ghana says that until power becomes available, the current load shedding or management schedule is still in force.
Director of Operations Tete Okain explains because most industries were on break during the period, a significant amount of electricity became available for domestic users.
It is. Most industries don't work, so at least that power is available for us to use in the residential areas. So normally within those periods you see the power to be, it looks like it is very stable, very available, but we did some load shedding. It's only that the intensity was not as much as we advertised. Well, like we have said, as and when the generation is made available, then the load shedding intensity will be reducing.
He, however, says ECG has since reverted to the normal load shedding, where consumers will not have electricity for 12 hours for 2 consecutive days, but spare the 3rd day. Mr. Okain added the load management schedule has been the same for a long time and advised consumers who go off at unscheduled times to call the ECG Customer Care Center.
But as at now, we are keeping to our original program, which we started last month. We are continuing the same program this month. We are publishing it on weekly basis because people say monthly is too cluttered. They cannot see it properly. So we are publishing it on weekly basis so that every week, every Monday, at least everybody will see what the load shedding program will be from that Monday up to Sunday. And like I always say, for the urban areas, it is 12 hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the next day, it is 6 p.m. to the following day, 6 a.m. The 3rd day, you are free for the whole day, and then it starts again, a 3-day cycle. So everybody should keep that 3-day cycle in mind. So that
he says the ECG remains hopeful the crisis will soon be over.
As you keep on putting on and off your equipment, it means it will come to a time and you have to do maintenance. You might do maintenance earlier than you've planned. It's all a cost to us. So the earlier we get the system normalized, the better for us, because it takes a lot of toll on us. Once this thing passes over, we know immediately it finishes, might have some few problems within the distribution system. After that, things should normalize. We're hoping that by that time, then we can give our customers more stable supply.
Meanwhile, true to their word, This week's load management schedule has been published in the newspapers.
The decision by the Trade and Industry Ministry to ban the export of scrap metal has garnered mixed reactions from scrap dealers. Now, though some believe it will boost local sales, others express the fear that the ban would significantly narrow their profit margins since they sell to export.
The legislation known as Ferrous Scrap Metals Regulations 2013 came into force on March 26 after the mandatory 21 parliamentary sitting days, making it a criminal offence to export scrap metals. Research has shown that the country's scrap generation was enough to meet the demand of existing industries, as in 2001, about 110,000 tons of scrap metals was found to be available in the country. However, the exportation of these metals has resulted in the unavailability of raw materials for several large-scale steel manufacturers, such as Tema Steel, Western Castles, Western Steel and Forgings, compelling them to operate below 40% of full capacity.
Ghana nkwanenim nti na yenyina me particular say feel say almost stop o mo a just scrap no enka hana local companies no menye den o menye binto me problem won say me won say o mo ma ye man ekofom because o mo to no yenye income na enfre o mo nchen because say tax na ye den eba ema etume den ye hu say ade a o mo yi di ko no yenye mfaso bi enfre o mo nchen so de me kire no.
Mahmoud Zakari, scrap metal dealer, explained, scrap exporters do not generate any income for the country. Yusuf Mahama, another scrap metal dealer, however, disagrees.
The reason why we say they help us is in terms of the price. They make us to get good price in all type of scrap they buy. But the local companies, what they are doing is the particular scrap they don't buy. And at times the price they give us is not good for us. So most of the scrap dealers, that's why they send their goods to the exporters.
He says government should not be in a hurry to ban the export of scrap metals.
If they want to ban it, they should let us come together with the local industry so that we all share ideas to each other before they can get together. Because otherwise, we human beings will always take some opportunities and they will get the opportunity and bring the other one down.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry had carried out extensive consultation with scrap metal dealers, the steel companies and other stakeholders in the industry and had instituted measures to ensure that metal dealers were treated fairly. The export of scrap metal is said to have contributed to theft of telephone cables made of copper, which is badly affecting the operations of telecom companies in the country.
Now, fishermen and fishmongers at Jama near the Bui Dam site have made a passionate appeal to President Mahama to intervene in reversing the decision by the Bui Power Authority (BPA) to eject them from the area. According to the fishermen, some officials from the BPA have given them an ultimatum to vacate the area or be ejected by military men. Nessa Kafuyajama has more from the Brongahafo region. The fisherfolk at Jama, close to the Bui Dam, migrated from the various fishing communities in the country to ply their trade in the area. When the news crew got to the area after the threat to be ejected, some people had just packed their things to leave in order to avoid a forceful ejection by the military men as threatened. The news team gathered that a lot more people had left earlier for Ivory Coast and other unknown places. It was visibly evident that fishing activities had come to a halt due to the ultimatum given by BPA. Only these canoes were captured by our cameras as they were getting ready to go fishing, whilst other fishermen mended their fishing nets. The fisherfolk say they're not happy about the decision of the BPA to get them out of the place. They allege that the chief of Jama, Nanakwesi Pambo, took various sums of money from them before they settled in the area, and so they did not understand why they were being ejected. The chairman of the Fishermen Association at Jama, Mahama Kuhe, called on President Mahama to prevent the BPA from depriving the fishermen of their livelihood. When contacted, the chief of Jama, Nana Kwesi Pambo, said the money collected from the fishermen was not for permanent occupation of the area and emphasized that the fishermen had been offered another place to stay but could still do their fishing activities in the lake. In a telephone conversation, the environmental officer of Bui Power Authority, who was purported to have issued the ultimatum, declined to comment on the matter. Nesta Kafui Ajoma's report. Did you know that 3,038 women are diagnosed with cervical cancer in Ghana every year? No? We'll bring you the details of that story when we come back from our break. Welcome back. Now, as promised, a research conducted by the Ghana Health Service has shown that 3,038 women are annually diagnosed with cervical cancer and 2,006 women die from the disease every year. Now, globally, 500,000 new cases are diagnosed annually and 270,000 deaths, accounting for 9% of female cancers, are also recorded annually. The manager of the expanded program on immunization of the GHS, Dr. Nana K.O. Ntwi-Ejei, who announced this on Tuesday at a press conference to introduce the human papillovirus vaccination exercise, said cervical cancer was a leading cause of deaths in Ghana.
The Ministry of Health had secured 64,000 doses of the HPV vaccine through the sponsorship of Axios Healthcare Development Incorporated of Cleveland, USA, and the Rural Women's Initiative for Development and Empowerment, a local non-governmental organization based in the north. Dr. Ntwi-Ejei said the vaccine would be piloted in 13 districts in the northern and the central regions for young girls in primary 4 and primary 5 to protect them from contracting the disease. The first dose started from February 11 to February 15, 2013, and targeted young girls because it was believed that they were not yet exposed to sexual intercourse. Dr. Ntwi-Ejei said the second dose was administered from March 18 to March 22, 2013, while the third dose would be from September 23 to September 27, 2013. He said so far, 32,000 doses were available to take care of 1,221 schools in the targeted regions and called on parents and teachers in the selected regions to ensure that every girl within the brackets group is vaccinated. Districts to benefit from the pilot vaccination exercise are Ewutu Senya East, Cape Coast, Efutu, Ekumfi, Infantiman, and the Agona West District of the Central Region. East Gonja, Kumbungu, Myong, Sablugu Nanton, Tolong and Yendi are the districts to benefit from the northern region. Dr. Ntwi-Ejei announced that the findings from the pilot exercise would be used to develop a program for the entire country. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ebenezer Apiadentra, said the HPV vaccine was safe, effective, and had been approved by the World Health Organization and the government of Ghana. He said the vaccine has been tested in many countries and the results showed it worked and is most effective if all 3 doses are completed on schedule.
The main objective of this exercise is to reduce the burden of cervical cancer in Ghana whilst raising awareness of the disease. For the HPV vaccine to work best, it is very important for adolescents to get all 3 doses long before any sexual activity with another person begins.
Now, just so that we get a proper understanding of this, let's take a look at this critically. Cervical cancer occurs when abnormal cells on the cervix camera grow out of control. The cervix is the lower part of the uterus that opens into the vagina. Cervical cancer can often be successfully treated when it's found out early. It's usually found at a very early stage through a Pap test. Here is a special report on the causes, tests, and treatment of cervical cancer.
Within the ages of 15 to 44 years records 876 cases, with those within the ages of 45 to 54 recording 899 and between the ages of 55 to 64 years, recording 753 cases, and those who are 65 years and above, 507 new cases.
In Ghana, we have about 3,000 cases in a year, out of which nearly 2,000 are dying. 2,000 deaths is considered to be a serious disease. And then the fact that it's also caused by a virus and can be spread by through sexual intercourse. I think it's a disease which is serious and should be given the necessary attention. Once we deploy it and it's available. But those who have had sex already, it may be too late and may not offer protection.
Well, it looks like we're determined to keep you healthy. Even before we start with wellness, the consumption of iodized salt is taken for granted by many who consume the indigenous non-iodized salt that they consider natural. But experts in nutrition are worried about this growing trend, attributing to high cases of mental retardation, fatigue, depression, and other health complications to iodine deficiency. Abigail Adumako-Entry reports.
The discovery of the link between iodine deficiency and the prevalence of many health complications prompted scientists to develop a medium to boost consumption of the critical nutrient. They settled on salt, which for many is an essential ingredient that adds taste to meals. Even though consumption of iodinated salt became widely accepted in the late 90s after a massive campaign to get Ghanaians to buy into it, there are many, especially food joint operators, who do not see the need to use iodized salt. Mavis Kobner has been cooking at this joint for the past 11 years, using non-iodized salt to spice up the food.
When I came and helped my mom, since then I was seeing that she was using the local salt. If I'm taking orders, then they will ask me, did I use the local one, or then I will tell them that I use the local one. They accepted.
There are other caterers, however, who have come to appreciate the need to use iodized salt in cooking.
Scientifically, saying local salt no yepe omahoden enso nti na yeyisu iodinated salt no local salt no say sometimes we sape no say we sape straight na e konkwan ni mu eno sa na sometimes abo wo nti we san kwan na se no behu na abo egu ase bebre no sa no enye healthy.
To ensure that Ghanaians do not suffer iodine deficiencies, the Food and Drugs Board Act 523 was passed in 1996 to make the iodization of salt mandatory for both human and animal consumption. But for some consumers, their beliefs are more compelling than the law.
Local salt no use. So na yes you about 2 years use. Some few years ago, now almost at this, I doted salt or what. And yet, how is it that yet? But me to me, na nanu so gold then will be any.
The non-iodized salt, meanwhile, is widely available on the market, the law notwithstanding. The price of the iodized salt, however, appears to be a factor. While this quantity of iodized salt costs at least 50 pesos, with only 20 pesos you can get this much of the non-iodized one. Peace Gakpato, a local salt dealer, also adds that it takes just a little to taste.
You can iodinated salt no cry chemical. Titi nyamano a boy a body nature near the shape paper muno. No bon soon yet. Don't say, yeah, mama, one cry, I bet and ya brewa by force. See where crowd dear, a mawa when they come.
But Dr. Hayford Tabri, a nutritionist, says the iodization of salt is the simplest and most cost-effective measure available to prevent mental retardation, depression, among others in the country.
Globally, about 2 billion people, close to 1/3 of the population, lack iodine. The reason is that iodine is needed for mental function and for energy. We have what we call thyroid hormone. There's a hormone that helps to boost energy in us. And when we lack iodine, our energy level goes down, and also it leads to different degrees of mental retardation. If people become moody, depression, and all those things, some actually go, say, insane because of lack of iodine.
He is worried a lot of education on iodine intake had not gone down well with Ghanaians, resulting in iodine deficiency disorders.
The main source of getting iodine into your body is through iodization. So it should be compulsory for everybody. So if you say that since your grandparents have been having goiters, your grandparents have been having mental problems, children in particular, many children have mental illness in school, they can't study well and all that, and we have children with mental disabilities and all that. This affects billions of people. So you can't say that you haven't been, everything has been going on all right without iodization of salt. Without iodization of salt, many things have gone bad, except that people don't know.
So, you might have several reasons for not consuming iodized salt, but the experts have spoken. Like it or not, the body needs iodine's nutritional value. Will you compromise on your health by following myths or traditions? Well, the choice is yours. Reporting from Accra, Abigail Adumakwenchi for Joy News.
Oh, well, that explains it. Now I know which of my colleagues are eating iodized salt and which of them aren't. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you wellness. Welcome back, and it's time for wellness. Today in wellness, we're talking about sleep. Sleep is essential for a person's health and well-being, and yet millions of people do not get enough sleep, and many suffer from the lack of sleep. So here are a couple of reasons why you really should get some sleep. Insomnia may be caused by a host of different reasons. These causes may be divided into situational factors, medical or psychiatric conditions, or primary sleep problems. Insomnia could also be classified by the duration of the symptoms into transient, short-term, or chronic. Transient insomnia generally lasts less than 7 days. Short-term insomnia usually lasts for about 1 to 3 weeks, and chronic insomnia lasts for more than 3 weeks. Many of the causes of transient and short-term insomnia are similar, and they include jet lag, changes in shift work, excessive or unpleasant noise, uncomfortable room temperature, that is, being either too hot or too cold, stressful situations in life, for example, exam preparation, the loss of a loved one, unemployment, divorce, or separation, the presence of an acute medical or surgical illness or hospitalization, withdrawal from drug, alcohol, sedative, or stimulant medications, insomnia related to high altitude, uncontrolled physical symptoms such as pain, fever, breathing problems, nasal congestion, coughing, and diarrhea can also cause someone to have insomnia. Controlling these symptoms and their underlying causes may lead to resolution of insomnia. The majority of causes of chronic or long-term insomnia are usually linked to an underlying psychiatric or medical condition. According to psychologist and sleep expert David F. Dinges, Ph.D., of the Division of Sleep and Chronobiology and the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine, irritability, moodiness, and disinhibition are some of the first signs a person experiences from the lack of sleep. If a sleep-deprived person doesn't sleep after the initial signs, the person may then start to experience apathy, slowed speech, and flattened emotional responses. Impaired memory and an inability to be novel or multitask are also included. As a person gets to the point of falling asleep, he or she will fall into microsleep, that's 5 to 10 seconds, that causes lapses in attention, nodding off while doing an activity like driving or reading, and then finally experience hypnagogic hallucinations, the beginning of REM sleep. Here are 6 definite reasons to get enough sleep. 1. Sleep helps the brain commit new information to memory through a process called memory consolidation. 2. Chronic sleep deprivation may cause weight gain by affecting the way our bodies process and store carbohydrates, and by altering levels of hormones that affect our appetite. 3. Sleep debt contributes to a greater tendency to fall asleep during the daytime. These lapses may cause falls and mistakes such as medical errors, air traffic mishaps, and road accidents. 4. Sleep loss may lead to irritability, impatience, inability to concentrate, and moodiness. Too little sleep can also leave you too tired to do the things you like to do. 5. Serious sleep disorders have been linked to hypertension, increased stress hormone levels, and perhaps it's time to take a nap. Obviously, my director needs some sleep. And now it's time to go into the international arena. North Korea has stopped South Koreans from crossing the border to work at the jointly run Kaesong Industrial Zone for the first time since 2009. And in Malaysia, Prime Minister Najib Razak has dissolved parliament ahead of a general election. It's time for sports, and it's brought to you by Tigo. Smile, you've got Tigo. Didier Drogba says Jose Mourinho could return to Chelsea because he has unfinished business with the Blues. It's almost time for me to go, but before I do, I have some international business for you. The International Monetary Fund, IMF. Well, that's all we have time for in this news bulletin. Before we go, though, let's take a quick look at our headlines. The decision by Trade and Industry Ministry to ban the export of scrap metal has garnered mixed reactions from scrap dealers. And the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has assured UTAG that they will be paid their full premiums in May if all goes well with their meeting today. As I mentioned earlier, they are in that meeting now. In our subsequent briefings, we will bring you the details of their decision. And the Attorney General's Department has freed 3 EC officials who tried to get some unsigned pink sheets validated in Savlugu in the northern region. In wellness, we talked about the importance of sleep. My name is Jennifer Jane Asante. Join us again at 2 p.m. for a news briefing. Have a good afternoon.